Atelier Marie Remake might be a simplified take on Atelier's usual gameplay, but it does still present challenges for its players that want to enjoy boss battles with dragons or its time limit, with the latter being something you have to manage much more closely than more recent Ateliers that have removed that element in turn for letting you play at your own pace. Because of this, Atelier Marie can sometimes require principles opposite to those of New Atelier, and for those who haven't played the Arlen or Dusk trilogies, this can be very tricky for some to wrap their head around, especially if you've decided to jump in with normal mode to unlock as many events as possible. With this in mind, I want to give some of the principles I use while playing Atelier Marie to help you guys save time as you enjoy its story events and work towards graduation, in the hope that it helps more of you guys enjoy this cute chibi take on Atelier's first game. One of the big differences between Atelier Marie and New Atelier is that everything you do takes time, which is important in Ateliers with timed events. If you go to town, coming back will mean you lose a day, and if you go to a failed location, it'll take a certain amount of days getting there, and the same getting back, and for whatever reason, every item you pick up consumes a day, so unlike in Rizo where I would try to completely fill my basket before returning to the Atelier, on normal mode in Marie, I was much more careful about this, either filling my basket with a lot of only the specific item I needed, or even just picking up the thing I needed once and getting out of there during quests, as time is of the essence if you want to make the deadline and get the reward. For me, this is part of the fun and challenge of time-limited Ateliers, as I like the strategic planning that comes with carefully considering every battle and area you go to, but it is quite different to the endless days of exploration in newer Ateliers, so unless you want that 5 years to be over really quick, it's something you do need to keep in mind while doing things that deduct time, and doing so will help you keep deadlines within reach and do what you need to. One quick thing to note for those who have played Arlen and Dusk and are a bit more familiar with time-limited Ateliers is that in Marie, each screen you move to doesn't take up a day, unlike what I remember from games like Atelier Rorona, so this is one part you can find a little comfort in, since if you know an item is on the next screen, you can just move to it and not lose a day. For everyone, I recommend, at least in the first month of Atelier Marie, keeping an eye on what happens in the calendar in the top corner every time you do something, and you'll quickly get to know how synthesis, gathering, and moving affect it, and once you get the hang of that, the time part of Marie gets much easier to predict, helping you keep your goals in mind and the time it takes to do them too. Another thing to be conscious of in Atelier Marie are your knowledge and reputation stats, which can affect the ending you get and also tie into certain goals that Professor Ingrid gives you as Marie's story progresses. The difference between knowledge and reputation in Marie, though, is that reputation can go down if you do things like miss quest deadlines, and there's a very easy way to avoid these deductions, which I call soft-doing quests. Instead of taking on the quest officially and enjoying the convenient ingredient listing on the bottom right of the screen, I would advise taking more of a mental note of what the quest needs, and if it's within your capabilities, don't accept the quest, but do go and make it, and don't worry about the deadline. This sometimes means you will go back to the quest counter and the quest has expired, but the thing about Atelier Marie is that quest cycle, so even if you don't get to hand in that quest item now, you'll probably be able to use it later, whether that be for another quest on the field or if a friend comes knocking at your door. The first time I failed a quest, I really didn't like seeing the reputation go down at all, and once I started soft doing quests, I never had this happen again, and found I typically had items for a majority of quests ready most of the time, and it gave me a stress-free way to have something to do in Marie rather than getting disappointed in my own lack of time management. It is worth noting that this is something you can't do when friends give you quests, so definitely make sure to put thought into whether or not you can reliably complete those before accepting, but in the usual quest system, I definitely recommend keeping things as stress-free as possible while softly enjoying the rewards your alchemy can bring, and keeping yourself well stocked for the quests that come as Marie's journey continues. Another thing you can do to keep stress out of your Atelier Marie journey is save scrum, which I swear the game encourages, as it literally has the load button on shortcut. I learned when playing the original Atelier Arlen trilogy, it can get pretty intense staring at the calendar as days go by when you synthesize, travel, gather, and battle, and if you're doing all those things together, calculating how much time this will all take can be a chore. So for Marie, I decided to deal with this mental strain as little as possible and do a quick save if I ever felt like I was about to maybe spend too much much time doing something and did feel less stressed knowing I had those quick loads to rely on. This really saved me when I went to do things like fight the big dragon on the mountain, which will appear if you listen to rumors from the townsfolk. Going to that mountain took multiple days, and of course I couldn't resist a little gathering while I was there, but then if you lose, that can be up to a month of wasted time, and even though there are 5 years in Mari, I would like to use as much of that time as I can, so a little reload here and there makes me feel like none of my time is wasted, and I can take a lot of risk out of the more time-sensitive parts of the game. So if you're close to a deadline or you're about to go somewhere far for the first time, I recommend keeping this in mind so you don't ever feel like time was lost to mistakes and instead get the most out of your journey. Speaking of the big dragon, one of the things that spurred me to continue with this video idea was that one of you guys asked about it, and since making my review, I've also beat the tower and another big boss I stumbled upon, and I think they're not too difficult to beat as long as you follow the principles of Atelier. Atelier's unique point is the use of alchemy, and while many of its characters are warrior-like, they are alchemists at heart, and with that in mind, you can use items in battle to get a big edge that is just as possible in Atelier Marie as it is in other ateliers. I discovered this when I finally rearranged my item bag to include some of the mega bombs I was using in quests, and sure enough, dealing 400 to 500 damage made beating those big bosses seem much more achievable. The only thing to mention that's different in Mari is the amount of damage items deal seems to depend on character stats, with Mari's magic attack being higher that seems to make items do better than more physically based characters like Reuven that tend to make big items flop. So as long as you make good items and give them to the right characters like Mari, the harder parts of Marie Remake should be achievable. It's with these mega bombs I always go and take down the tower boss when it appears and have no real problem despite the status effects it tries to give, and even though I did discover most characters get much more useful when they hit level 25, items are a great way to get an edge quickly that will help you complete most of Mari's story quests. I've talked a lot about the parts of Atelier Marie you can manage yourself by playing smart, but there is a built-in secret weapon in Marie that, if you can keep enough money coming in, can be quite helpful. The thing I'm talking about are fairies that you can rent up to 7 of to go out and gather or synthesize things that you've made before. You unlock this feature around January in year 1 of Mari's journey, with the catch being that you have to venture a few days to and from the fairy forest to pick these adorable helpers up and also pay for them monthly, but once you do, you can have them turning your spare materials into quest items or use them to juggle parts of items that require multiple parts. I found them to pay themselves off pretty well in my second playthrough, as I always try to keep them working on something I need, and it's been good to have them doing more repetitive work while I take my time focusing on story events I'm much more interested in, and it kind of scratches the Nelke itch too, as if you manage them well enough, you can feel like you're able to help out all of the city and its quests pretty well. They're a slightly forgettable feature, as you do have to go out of your way to get this system working, but it's a system I'm seeing a lot of use from now and wish I utilized more in my first playthrough, so on top of the next things I'm going to mention, I recommend keeping a good amount of fairies working for you at all times to help Mari do synthesis and quests well beyond what one person could and enjoy the rewards that come from it. Fairies aren't the only thing I found were forgettable ways to optimize my Mari journey, as it had a surprising amount of things for you to manage that make it feel pretty deep. For example, after Flair's quest that you can unlock by talking to her whenever she's at the Sky Tavern, you get access to her store when it pops up that sells decorations alongside big ticket synthesis items, and these items aren't just for aesthetics, they're actually able to give you small boosts like upping how much things sell for or lowering the cost of allies that can make them pretty useful on your journey, at least in theory. I haven't actually sat down and measured the difference between having them on or off, but halfway through my second playthrough I remembered I had them and was kind of bummed I remembered so late, as I'm sure I could have had at least a little more money if I'd put them on sooner. So if you buy them, don't forget to put them inside your atelier to make sure you're getting all their benefits. Another thing you should also keep an eye on are easily missable numbers, which for me tend to be synthesis time, friendship levels, and stats. Synthesis time is slightly missable, as you can easily see how much of an item you're using, which goes into decimals in this atelier, but sometimes the time does too, and it's tucked away in a bottom corner. My strategy for the decimals since Atelier Rorona has been to make 10 of each item or try get the decimals to be at 0 to feel like I'm making the most of my time. This is just what I do, but not using the full amount of days or items make me feel like I'm wasting things I worked hard to get, and since quests do cycle, these extra things become helpful eventually, so I feel good about doing it and recommend you try it too. too. One thing I actually did manage to notice in my first playthrough was my friendship levels hitting 100, which is the maximum level that meant I would usually switch someone out if they hit it. This is something you have to manually check though, as while achievements will pop up for friendship, they're not always easy to see if you're focused and running around and doing your own thing that means you miss them. So I'd recommend making sure to pull up the menu or talk to who you need to once in a while to check, and since every character does eventually become useful at higher levels, this cycling in and out has been a good way for me to see how everyone plays. Finally, if you take out a character and feel like your party has taken a hit from it, remember that you can always boost everyone's stats with certain items. You need to get Mari's reputation and knowledge up a bit to get access to higher level recipe books, and once you do that, you can get the item's power and spirit pills that can raise physical and magical attack and defense as you please, making it possible to basically use whoever you want as long as you put the stat altering effort in. I mostly use them for small stat boosts for whoever was in my current party before running off to fight something big, and didn't really go out of my way to use them, but I do like knowing that they're there, and then the next time I go to raise friendship levels, I can make whoever's in my party that little bit better thanks to the magic of alchemy and things left over in my inventory from quests. There are more small things to keep an eye on, but if you want to feel like you're on top of everything in Mari and using your time and characters to the maximum, these small things made me feel like I was on top of things, which is always good to feel in a time-limited atelier like this, to help you feel like you're getting the most of those 5 years if that's what you've limited yourself to anyway. While I've mentioned the 5-year limit, I suspect a lot of people are probably making the most of the new Unlimited mode, which is great. In case you're not though, Unlimited mode really is a nice thing to have in Atelier Marie Remake, and has helped to make my second playthrough pretty stress-free, even if I enjoyed my run on normal mode too. I read a Famitsu interview with producer Junso Hosoi recently that says he recommends playing Unlimited first for a relaxing first playthrough, and then normal for a challenge. I ended up doing the opposite of this though, and can now say having experienced the challenge of normal mode and then knowing that if you mess up in unlimited mode there is no penalty is really nice. I probably wouldn't have this video of tips without normal mode though, and have no regrets on having started there, as I wanted to access all the story events even if I didn't see them all in the end. But as I've said before, there's no shame in starting with something easier that will give you more enjoyment and relaxation in your all-important free time, so I really recommend that in Atelier Marie Remake, and so do the creators, so there's definitely no shame in playing this way in Marie Remake. I hope these tips help some of you guys play Atelier Marie that little bit more intentionally, that might help you make your playthroughs a little more fun and efficient, and I hope we all keep enjoying Atelier Marie Remake, as I know I'm still having a lot of fun in this upgraded and cute form of the first Atelier that is a lot of fun to mess around in. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if you're still playing Atelier Marie Remake, and feel free to leave your tips for the game below too. You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, and you can find me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at JRPG Jungle. Links to those will be in the description below, and until next time, thank you, bye!